environment is not good for business. It's not good for business. Also, we're noticing that our clients are more risk averse. They don't want to spend their money. So cash flow is becoming a challenge for our businesses. And of course, our market share is threatened every single day as we see different, the stock market, we see what is going on in stock market. Market share is being threatened every single day. And if you are not in the healthcare industry, if you're not in the cleaning agents industry, it's a bit difficult right now for businesses. But just imagine that in the midst of all this uncertainty, all the fear, all the apprehension, imagine that you could discover a new market that costs you absolutely nothing to acquire, requires no monetary investment, increases your market penetration, increases your clientele, and brings consistent revenue. Imagine that you could discover such a market. The secrets you are about to discover today will give you all these plus. Okay? Today you're going to discover how to massively cut your cost, pay off bills without cash, outrun and outlast your competition, provide added value to your customer, reduce the cost of your risk, gain foothold in the international marketplace if you so desire, and so much more. And the big secret I want to share with you is strategic alliance or strategic collaboration. Basically, it's collaborating with partners either in your industry or out of your industry, and making sure that there's a strategy, there's a strategic twist to it. Okay, so before I tell you more about this, I want to tell you a story. Okay, I'm sure many of you know about the Star Alliance Group. The Star Alliance Group was formed, one of the major players there was Lufthansa. In the 90s, the US government deregulated the market, and the European Union also did the same. This was a double-edged sword, which meant more airlines could go into more markets, they could grow, they could get customers, get clientele, but there would also be more competition. Now, Lufthansa decided, okay, let me go into an alliance with four airlines, which were also Lufthansa's competitors. And together, these 5 airlines formed the Star Alliance. Now, the Star Alliance from 5 airlines today is 26 airlines. And that formidable force that they formed gave them access to a fleet of 5,000 planes, allowed them to enter into 193 countries, gave them access to over 1,000 airports, and the number of clients it gave them access to are innumerable. So you can imagine what an alliance did. And if you look at this picture closely, you have different air hostesses, different hosts, different pilots. One thing you notice is that they are all wearing different uniforms. So, despite the fact that they all went into an alliance, they each retained their identity. Okay? Before I now go further to explain more, I want to share with you a common, talk about a common industry that we are all aware of, and that's the event planning industry. Now, in event planning, we all know that many times the event planner doesn't have skills to cook, take care of cocktails and mocktails, take care of drinks, sew gowns, do floral arrangements, provide clean the venue, cook food. Many times she doesn't have all the skills, but what she has is a contacts and relationships with people that can bring these skills. And what this does is that anytime she engages these people, they are exposed to her clientele. And if those people decide to engage her, she is exposed to their clientele. So all the event planner does is that she strikes up an alliance with all these people, and whenever they are needed, she calls them. Okay, so that's another classic example of an alliance. So what is a strategic alliance? A strategic alliance is an arrangement between two companies to undertake a mutually beneficial project while each retains its independence. Remember the picture of the Star Alliance group with the 26 airlines? You saw different uniforms. They each retained their independence. They each kept their identity. The event planner, the caterer that is working with her doesn't have to drop their name to join her company. Nothing like that. They each retain their identity. And many times when we go to events, we see different people, different organizations providing different things for us at the event. They are each retaining their identity. Now, a strategic alliance is not a merger, it's not an acquisition, and it's not a partnership, because they each retain their identity. In these three things, they lose their identity. In a merger, usually one company is swallowed up into another company. In an acquisition, one company now owns another company. And in a partnership, two companies come together to form a new company. Okay, but in strategic alliance, you still maintain your identity, and each of you have mutual benefits. You don't have to give up your objectives, you don't have to give up your goals in an alliance. Okay, what an alliance does for you is that it creates new markets. Like we can see when Lufthansa formed the alliance, they could now go to countries that were outside of their borders. They could enter into new markets. They could enter into China, into the Asian countries, because the alliance included Asian airliners. Okay, you create new markets, and this widens your scale, your scope, and your speed. You are able to take over a large market share quickly. It increases your market penetration. You reduce costs. All these things they are doing, it would have been advertising cost for Lufthansa, but they didn't pay a dime to advertise. When the event planner brings the caterer, she would have had to talk, advertise herself, showcase her work, cook, spend money, She didn't have to do anything like that. She just brings her along. So you reduce your cost. It reduces your cost. It enhances product development. Because of the diversity of the different people in the alliance, new ideas come up and new products are born. The Star Alliance was able to come up with a product that enabled its clientele to travel around the world. Okay, you develop new business opportunities. I'm aware that the Star Alliance were even able to open up their own booking office because of this alliance that they had formed. So there are so many opportunities and so many things that forming an alliance can do for your business. Now, just a few stats just to show you that a strategic alliance is the way to go. Now, enterprise.com did a survey, and they found out that 49% of businesses that went into a strategic alliance had more worth. 21% had higher revenue, 38% had increased productivity. Now, this is not on the slide, but they also found out that 90% of business owners said that for them to be able to acquire a competitive edge, it was important that they go into a strategic alliance. So strategic alliances are very, very important. And 20% of the top 200 companies in the US and the Europe said that their success was due to a strategic alliance. So strategic alliances are very, very important for you, especially at this time. Now, types of alliances. You can have alliances within your industry, you can have alliances outside of your industry. But I'm going to go into some specifics on types of alliances. But keep it in mind that you can have alliances within your industry, you can have alliances outside of your industry. Now we have things like joint ventures. A classic example is where you find banks in shopping malls, banks in close to supermarkets. That is a strategic alliance. The banks know that these people that are going to shop would need money and may run out of money. So rather than them having to walk to the bank or not buy the product again, the banks have provided their services. Their ATM portals are there at the shopping mall so that people can go withdraw cash and go inside and buy stuff. It's good for the shopping mall because the people are encouraged to buy. It's good for the banks because people are withdrawing more cash, and we all know that when you make more than 3 withdrawals, you are charged. So the bank is benefiting from that. Next, we're going to look at co-branding. A classic example is Coke and Procter and Gamble. Those are two huge giants. They came together, took advantage of each large market share and dominated the markets. Okay. Another example is the TV, the newsmen with helicopter services. In order for them to be able to give us a better coverage of the news, many times they have to employ the services of they have to employ helicopter services to help them. So they are giving us added value, those of us listening and watching the news, and then the helicopter service is generating income, and they also are able to provide better service for us. So it's a mutual relationship. Everybody at the end of the day is benefiting. Next, we look at host beneficiary relationships. Another host beneficiary relationship is the computer makers and those who make software. I'm sure many times on your system you see a small tab that says Intel, or when you buy a system, maybe you buy a Dell, you need to go and purchase Microsoft Windows, things like that. So it's a mutual relationship. So it's only wise that if you are selling computer hardware, you should team up with somebody selling software, because your clients would always, once they buy a computer, they will always need software to go along with what they are purchasing. Next is endorsements, and this is very common. We see it every day in the Pepsi adverts. You see this music star drinking Pepsi. He's endorsing Pepsi. A few years ago, Pampers did it with Tiwa Savage. He was endorsing Pampers, So endorsements are very, very common, and usually you get celebrities, public figures, well-known people to utilize products, and of course, once they utilize products, that's social proof and people want to use that product. There are people that like them want to use that product. Okay, so it increases the market share for the providers of that product. Now, you can also look at flipped business opportunities, and flipped business opportunities are usually found where you have distressed properties. For example, somebody's going into bankruptcy, they have a house. You can offer them that, you would utilize that house for so time and pay them rent. They gain, you gain. Okay? Somebody has machines, they are a distressed business, they have machines that are laying fallow. You can rent those machines to be used. They gain, you gain. Okay? And so many other distressed properties so many other things that we can look at under distressed properties, people that are going into bankruptcy. You can look at cars, houses, land, equipment, sales force, clientele lists. All of these are flipped business opportunities that you can use. Okay, next we're going to look at acquired assets. There are assets that people have acquired that's just standing there, laying fallow and not doing anything for them. Houses, lands, purchases that they've made, equipment that are just lying fallow and not doing anything for them. You can go into a partnership with them and let them know that, oh, you will utilize this, and from the profit you make, you will give them so. You've not spent any money to acquire it, and you've gotten that asset and you're using it, and it's helping your business. You can also acquire distribution networks. You can use somebody else's sales force. You can use somebody else's retail store. You can use somebody else's kiosk. You can make use of somebody else's lease or license. So maybe somebody took a lease on a house and they can't pay the full rent. You can utilize that house for a period, for a paid event. You don't pay anything to hold the event. At the event, people come, pay you stuff, and then you now pay them off. Those are ways that you can acquire distribution networks. You can also acquire leads on people that have prospects that they've talked to but they never bought their products. Those are unconverted prospects, inactive clients, and active clients. Okay, so these are ways that you can form alliances. Now, you know what an alliance is, you know the benefits to you and to your business, and you know the different types of ways you can form an alliance. Now, what do you need to do today before you form an alliance? The very, very first thing you need to do is, first and foremost, look at the big picture. As a business, what's your goal? What's your vision? What do you want to achieve? Okay? If you are able to identify your goal and what you want to achieve, next, outline what are the resources you currently have and how much do you have to achieve that goal. Okay? Then next, you outline who you can get it from. And then after you outline who you can get it from, you outline who is ideal to partner with. So we're going to look at each of these broad headings and go into a little more detail. Okay? So first and foremost, why are you forming an alliance? And before you go to your why, before you answer the question, why are you forming an alliance, you need to first look at your big goal, look at the big picture. When you look at the big picture, then you can now answer the question, why are you forming an alliance? What's your ultimate goal? What are the key components for you to reach that goal? How will you acquire these components? Who will you acquire these components from? These are very, very necessary in helping you to achieve your goal. Next, you need to outline your resources. Ask yourself, what do I have that would help me achieve this goal? Okay? What do I have that will help me achieve this goal? Now, in outlining, in asking yourself, what do you have that will help you achieve this goal? It's best you just list out all that you have first, because you want to go into a strategic alliance with someone. You don't know exactly what that person has or doesn't have. Okay, so to be able to come from a position of power, you need to look at all that you possess, all that you own. So what products do you own? What distribution channels do you own? What sales personnel do you have access to? What's your sales methodology? What facilities and equipment do you have? Do you have intellectual property? Do you have goodwill with a group of people? Do you have trust with a group of people? What are your core competencies? And do you have affinity to any groups of people? Okay. Next, after you've outlined everything that you have, you now act, and you would have already identified, from doing that, you would have identified what you don't have. Next, you now need to outline who you can get what you don't have from. So, who are the people that I want to reach? What other products or services are bought before purchasing my products? Who provides these products or services? What products or services do people need or acquire along with my product or service? Who provides these products or services? Then this is not here, but it's very important. What events do the people that buy my product or services attend? Who speaks in those events? Who facilitates those events? What magazines do the people that buy my products read? Who owns those magazines? I'm sure by now your mind is opening up, and you're seeing the possibilities and the opportunities that are before you. Make sure you answer these questions today and start working on how to form strategic alliances, especially at this time. Now, after you've done all this, the next thing you want to do is how to identify the correct partner. This part is very important and is very, very vital. And it's a part that if you just gloss over, if it's not properly done, it will cost you a whole lot of money. Okay? So now that you've answered all the other questions, you need to identify who is ideal, who is the ideal partner for you. So ask yourself, who has direct access to what I need? Who has a sales force I can tap into? Who is strong where I am weak? Who has the trust of my prospective clients? Who has similar objectives with me? There are more questions, but I don't want to keep you too long on this call. But with these 5, I'm sure you'll be able to come to terms with who your ideal strategic partner should be. Now, once you've answered all these questions that I've listed, it's now time to get into action. And this action is something that you must start and work on today. From answering all the questions, by now you should have a list of possible partners. You should have a list of individuals. You should have a list of businesses. So now that you have this written down, take time to write all their contact information, their phone numbers, their emails. Make sure or who you need to reach to get them. Okay? Next, especially for the companies, this next point is particularly for the company. If you've identified this company, you've identified their contact info, you know that's not enough to get into the door. You need to find out who the decision makers are. Then you need to list out all their products and services. Remember, earlier on you listed out all that you possess, because you don't know what the other person doesn't have that you can use as an irresistible offer for them. So now you list out all their products and services, because you are looking for where you can partner and how you can partner and how it can be mutually beneficial for yourself and for them also. Next, you need to consider some things. These things are vital if you want to give them an irresistible offer, an offer they cannot refuse. You need to consider what their objections are. What are the objections they have in partnering with you? Common objections will be like, I don't want you to have control over my customers. Common objections will be like, I'm not in that's not the business I'm in. This is different from what I do. Common objections that I'm not comfortable with you having access to my resources. So you need to be able to answer those questions. You also need to take time to understand the thinking of your clients. Okay? And it's also important you are able to outline the benefits to you and to them. If you just go and tell them their own benefits alone, they'll feel, this guy has something up his sleeve he's going to do. It's wise you tell them what you stand to gain and what they stand to gain. Okay? Then, this last point is very, very important, and it will determine whether your offer is irresistible or not. Many times when you do a business transaction, one person is being asked to take a huge risk. So you must let them see that the risk has been eliminated. That the risk on both sides have been eliminated, but most especially the risk for them has been eliminated. You must be able to prove it and show it to them that the risk of going into partnership with me has been eliminated. Okay? Now, there are some traps that you must avoid when you are going into strategic alliances. You must take time to choose the right partner. Do not fail to take time to choose the right partner. Do not fail to plan for flexibility. Do not fail to clearly identify what your mutual goals and objectives are, what you hope to achieve, what are the performance expectations that they expect of you and you expect of them. Make sure you itemize those things clearly. Then, make sure you integrate growth requirements. You are doing a partnership with this company. That means you're going to have more clients. Can your customer service handle it? Can your sales rep handle it? You need to make provision for that, because if they can't handle it, it will put you and the person that you've gone into an alliance with in a bad light, and that would spoil further business relationships. So it's very, very important you avoid this trap. Okay? Then, when you are crafting your agreement, make sure your terms are clear. How long this will last is clear. What each of you expect from each other is clear. Who owns what is clear. If there's a residual stream, who benefits from it, make that clear. And it's very, very important that if you want this to work, you take into consideration all the stakeholders. It's very, very, very important. So now I've been able to share with you a secret. You've actually discovered a secret that the top 20% of companies in the US and Europe are using to thrive despite this pandemic. And it's very, very important that you get into action. You now know what a strategic alliance is. You know what you need to do before you go into a strategic alliance, and what you need to do is you need to be sure that you need to look at your ultimate goal first and ask yourself what you need to reach that ultimate goal. You need to look at what you own, itemize everything out. You need to look at who has what you do not have and look for ways to expand or reach out and get what you do not have. Okay? You also need to take time to find an ideal partner. And one thing I did not mention is that you can also go into a partnership with your competitor, just like Lufthansa did. But there are some things you need to ask yourself before you go into partnership with a competitor. And one of those things is that you need to assess your fears of going into a strategic alliance with your competitor. All right? You need to look at what are your fears, how will you mitigate them, either verbally or transactionally. Now, if you are going into an alliance with a competitor, it's usually best you go into an alliance with a weak competitor, somebody that is not too strong. And you go into an alliance with a competitor that has something that you don't have, so that you are giving added value to your clients. So with all that we've talked about, today you should be able to take action and sit down and list out the contacts of everybody that is a potential strategic partner for you. You should be able to list out the decision makers in each of the companies that you wish to do these strategic alliances with. You should be able to list out some of them's objections. You should find time to understand how they think. You should also list out all their products and services so you can see where both of you can form alliances and become a formidable force. This crisis is your opportunity, because right now people don't have cash and they are looking for ways to forge ahead. Don't miss it. Thank you very much.